Do my quick little intro. So, welcome to Sierra Pacific Mortgage's special edition Social Media University. We are absolutely thrilled to have each and one of you here today. I am Kasha Stevenson, the VP of Marketing, and your host for today's webinar. So, I'm really excited to guide you through our special session today. Today promises to be a really unique experience. Rather than a formal workshop, we're diving into an engaging conversation about all things social media with our special guest. So with an overwhelming response of over 200 registrants, guys, we're going to hit the ground running. We're addressing all the questions you submitted during registration. So to make sure that we stay engaged, you need to stay engaged. Trust me, this hour is going to go by quickly. So let's make the most of this. So I had the pleasure of meeting our esteemed guest speaker, Candice, at an event 2 years ago. Her approach to social media struck me as refreshingly candid and effective. Today, I'm excited to share her expertise with you. Candice, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on with you.
Yes. So, like I said, I think we've got over 50 to 75 questions to go through. So I know this hour is going to go by quickly. To the folks on the phone, if you've got anything additional that pops up, shoot it in our Q&A and we'll do our best to answer that. But without further ado, let's kick it off. So Candice, are people overthinking this social media thing?
That's the easiest question that I've received so far. Yes, absolutely. Everyone is overthinking social media.
And from your perspective, why do you think that?
I think that there's this idea that you have to showcase a perfect life to gain traction in the online space. And the reality of it is that people are actually annoyed by seeing everyone's perfect life. And the way that humans build connection is by seeing one another, by sharing stories, and by feeling like they get to go along the day with you. So people are thinking that they have to have an entire production crew, that they have to have all of this fancy equipment. And they're just making a whole lot of, let's be frank, excuses as to why they're not yet showing up in the online space. The truth of the matter is that if you have a phone, and if you're a lender or a realtor, you have a phone, then there's no excuse for you to not create content. So, yes, you're overthinking it. People just want to know about your day. I'll tell you a quick little anecdote that happened recently. So I was talking to my sister-in-law, and just for context, we grew up as next door neighbors. So we're really good friends. We call each other sisters since we were 10, right? So I'm talking to my sister-in-law, and she's pregnant right now. And she's like, I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks in pregnancy time is like forever, right?
Yeah.
And so she was like, where have you been? What have you been up to? She's like, actually, I have a funny story to tell you. My mom was telling me that you went to Phoenix and you were in Vegas and you spoke at this stage and all this stuff. And she was like, then I asked my mom, Mom, when was the last time you talked to Candice? And she said, Oh, I didn't talk to her. I just follow her stories on Instagram. And so she knew everything about she knew everything
You
about
knew
my
where you
life and
knew
what
where
I
you were.
what I was doing. And she was like telling all the partnerships that I had from my Instagram story. And that's exactly what I want. I want someone to be able to tell you all of the amazing, cool things that I'm doing, or even that I just got my favorite chicken shawarma from Trader Joe's last night
Saw that.
because you watch my Instagram stories. And it could be something really amazing and it could be something really simple. And as long as someone has something to say about me, even when they haven't talked to me for months, that's great. That's how you begin to build your brand. And so it's a dumb little story, but I think it demonstrates exactly why your social media is actually impactful.
And it's working because they know what you're doing.
You know what I'm doing?
I kind of want to talk about a little bit that you're an introvert,
Oh my gosh,
but
yes.
you would not think so. Like I'm an introvert as well. And so being on camera, like it's scary for me, but talk a little bit about that because I know we've got folks on the phone that are like, I don't want to be on camera. Do I need to show my face? Is that really important? And they're just hesitant. But the introvert, please tell us a little bit
I
about
I actually think that social media is a life hack for introverts.
Yeah,
because instead of having 100 conversations today, I get to have this one conversation with you and 100 people are listening and watching. And after the fact, this video will still be working for me.
so true.
And so if you are introverted, I think video is the way to go because I can make a quick Instagram story in my kitchen like I did last night with no one watching except my dog Sugar. And hundreds of people watched that story and tens of people sent me comments and asked me questions and had conversations with me. And I got to do that while I'm sitting in my house in my sweats. So I actually think it's a hack. And when it comes to showing your face, that one is interesting to me, but I met my husband on Bumble. And so I think that I like to think about it like this. If you were on a dating app and you opened up a profile and there was a stock photo that said, I love hiking. And then there's a stock photo at the airport and it says, I love traveling. And then there's another stock photo of like, I love my mom. Is that as impactful if we actually saw photos of the human being and their face and them with their mom and them actually at the airport? No. Would you trust that person? Would you take the next step to go on a date with that person? No. But y'all are over here asking for business without showing your face. Well, that's the freaking problem.
Mic drop. So, how do they get started? That's like one of the top questions I got. How do I get started? Where do I start?
There's a couple schools of thought on this, and I even am oscillating back and forth on which one is the right one. It's a chicken and the egg situation. So, do you sit down and write out your personal brand and say, these are my unique skills, gifts, talents. This is who I'm uniquely positioned to serve. These are my values. Maybe you sit down and write those things out and really dig into who you are and who you serve. The other school of thought is you just begin to create content, and along that path, you discover who you are and who you're uniquely positioned to serve and who's watching and what they want. And I don't think one or the other is right or wrong now at this point in my career. I think I used to have a strong stance on which one comes first. But when I started creating content, it was really out of a place of honestly desperation. I was in my second year of entrepreneurship and I had dried up all my warm sphere. They already hired me in my first year. My first year was great. My second year was kind of like crickets. And I knew that I had to invite people into my world to position myself as an expert and let people know what it was that I did. And I hired a coach, and it was one of those desperate, like, last money on my credit card swipe kind of things. Otherwise, I'm going to have to move home. And what she challenged me to do was to go live every single day. And everyone asks me, "Oh, what platform?" Don't worry about the platform. The platform doesn't matter. It's the experience, right? So she's like, "For these 6 months that we're working together, Candice, I want you to go live and I want you to do it every single day." And I said, "Well, what am I going to talk about every single day live? I've never done this before." And she's like, "You'll figure it out. Talk about what you talk about with your clients." And so I went live 137 times in 180 days, and my life and business changed forever. But it wasn't because I immediately got clients. It was because I began to start conversations with people in the online space. People began to see me as the expert. People started saying, "Oh, can you make a video about this tomorrow, Candice? Can you talk about time management? Can you talk about just all these things that they were struggling with in their business?" And they started to see me as a leader because every day there I was, or 137 times out of 180. Okay. And what that helped me to do was just understand who I worked well with, who I wanted to work with, what are the questions I like to answer, what are the questions I wanted to stay away from. And that exercise really changed the way I thought about showing up for people. I realized that sometimes, just like any human being, they just want someone to be there for them.
So what I'm hearing you saying is you just have to pick up your phone, I mean, call it Instagram, and just push
Sure,
story or reel and just start
do
recording.
it. And
Okay.
here's the thing, you're gonna feel stupid. You're going to hate your voice. You're going to hate the way you look. Look, I just turned 40 and trust, like I'm feeling it, okay? Like all of those things are going to be thoughts in your mind. That's normal. And I want to say that because you're likely thinking, oh, Candice never worries about her voice on camera. Lies. Of course I do. Candice never worries about the way she looks. Yep, sure do. All of the things that you worry about, I still experience as someone who's been creating content for 6 years. So the difference is I also understand what creating content does for my life and my bank account. And so I'll never stop now. Now that I see the correlation, now that I see the opportunities that have come to me because of it, I will never stop. So I would say if you really don't know where to start, open up your calendar today and look at all of the things that you have on the calendar. As a matter of fact, do me a favor, take a picture right now of your screen and me, tag me on Instagram and said, I did an amazing social media class today. You can expect to see a lot more of me today and beyond. That's how you begin to show up. You look at your day and say, what am I doing? What demonstrates my expertise? What demonstrates my commitment? What demonstrates me continuously being a learner? What demonstrates that I'm actually in business? Am I at a showing? Is there a listing presentation today? Am I at a broker's open? What is happening in your day that no one knows about because you're not sharing?
Those are all content ideas. I think you just gave them like 15 to 20. So let's unpack that a little bit more because another big question was, what do I say? How do I time block for content? Yeah, what is really important? What do people want to hear?
So, a good place to start is what are the questions that you're answering already? Look in your text messages. Think about your phone calls over the last week. What are people asking you about? Whatever they're asking you about, your audience also has those questions. And if you can be the person to say that first, they feel like you're reading their mind. So when I think about like on this call today, I said, I know you hate your voice. I know you're getting older and you hate the way you look on camera. Okay. I'm saying the scary thing that you're embarrassed to say aloud to you first. And now guard comes down. Like, oh, she gets it. She understands. Right. What are those things in your world that you can say for your audience that makes them feel like you're reading their mind, but in reality, you're just a human being who also has thoughts and feelings?
So how much of that blend should be personal and actually work? Because I think that's where some folks get tripped up and it's like hardcore selling products or just posting listings and they think that's their
So,
strategy. Like,
yeah,
what's the nice blend here? Because I think to me, I think there needs to be a nice, combo.
let's talk about posting listings for a second and then make sure I answer the blend question, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Here's why posting listings in your feed is not effective for you. It's because you're not Zillow. No one's ever going to want to look at a realtor's feed because they want to see what's on the market. That's not what people are looking at your feed for. Okay. So I want you to understand your goal. Your goal being on social media is to position yourself as the approachable expert to start conversations about real estate. That's your goal. Okay. So you want to be approachable because you want someone to be able to slide into your DMs and them actually be able to talk to a human being. That's the difference between you and Zillow. And that's why someone would want to follow you is because they feel like you have the answer to their question. Like it's not going to put them immediately in a sales funnel the first time they send a DM. That there's that human to human connection, right? That's the difference. That's the difference between social media versus your website. Yes, they're going to go on your website and there's going to be a lead magnet form and then they're going to be immediately put into a funnel. They get that. On social media, they want to talk to you. And so the way you make them feel comfortable in talking to you is by sharing both your expertise in your profession and also who you are. So I think I did a great job of that actually on my Instagram story yesterday. It's probably still up if you want to look at it. The first story, I talked about how I was like, hey guys, I just got off calls today, and here's the most annoying thing that I'm hearing from clients and people. And I shared what that annoying thing was. Well, that's a story that positions me as someone who's booked and busy because I'm meeting with all these clients. Here's like the themes that I'm pulling together. So I look like the expert and I talk about social media. So I'm sharing my expertise there. Immediately after that, I'm in my kitchen cooking dinner for my husband and I talk about the favorite thing that I got from Trader Joe's. And I talk about how, even though it's chicken shawarma, I put it in a flour tortilla because I'm Mexican and that's what I do. And it's like tiny, silly little things that just humanize me. And I got 5 people in my DM saying, oh, you added tzatziki to that? Like, that's fun. Or, oh, I'd never thought about putting it in a flour tortilla. Or, like, I thought you were Italian, Candice. And my husband's Italian, right? So just tiny little conversations that I'm having with people. And those conversations often lead somewhere. One of my favorite stories about silly conversations is one time I posted that I got an air fryer. It just happened that the air fryer came in on a Friday. I told you all that I'm 40. So my air fryer came in, Amazon delivered it. I open up the box. I'm like, this is what a 40-year-old is excited about, right? A freaking air fryer. And the box says fry yay. And I was like, oh, it's Friday. The box says fry yay. That's cute. I'm going to put that on my Instagram story. So I just said, hey guys, got a new air fryer. Drop all your favorite air fryer recipes. Let me know. And I put the little sticker box for them to drop the recipes. I can't remember how many people, 15, 17 people dropped recipes for me. Try fried pickles, try whatever, lots of different things. One of the girls dropped a recipe and then she said, oh, Candice, and by the way, I've been meaning to talk to you about working together. And she hired me and I made thousands of dollars for talking about my air fryer, which doesn't make any sense except it was a catalyst. It was a non threatening way for her to begin to start a conversation with me. And when I said thank you, she said, by the way. And those stories happen all of the time, but y'all are just posting listed and sold and interest rates went up and interest rates went down and will they ever go down? Whatever. It's boring, okay? And no one wants to ask you about that. But if you have casual opportunities for someone to engage with you, that conversation may lead to something else.
Now we know why they call you Candid Candice.
Exactly, exactly.
Telling it
Um,
how it is, because so the blend of content.
Blend of content. So here's what I do. This is like a starter base recipe, if you will. Okay. Your base recipe that you can zhuzh up to your own liking over time. But if you want to start out with like certain ratios or percentages, I would say think about 3 different buckets. 1/3 your life. That's literally anything. That's your Target hauls or traveling or Mother's Day, whatever, your
What
life.
if, what if you don't want to post like your family or anything? Is that okay? Just you.
You don't have to post your kids' faces, but I do want to know that you have kids.
Okay.
Um, or not, right? Like I want
Uh-oh.
if you're putting blocks between you and your audience,
Candace, hold on,
yeah.
we lost audio.
Hello.
Tasha, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
I
All
can
right.
hear Candice. Awesome,
All
Okay.
right,
everyone.
we're good. Sorry,
Okay, we're
technical
back.
difficulties, and we're back.
Okay.
All right,
So
so we
you
were
asked
one
me if you
third.
have to show family, and I would say ideally you show family, but you don't have to show your kids' faces. And I just want to know that you have family and
So you can
kids, or
relate,
if you
right?
have them.
See,
Yes, it makes you relatable, right? So for safety reasons, obviously, if that doesn't make you feel comfortable to show their faces, you do not have to. But you could just hop on your Instagram story and tell a story about your kids, right? And then I know you have them. Um, or not. Like, I don't have any kids, but you're gonna see my husband sometimes, and like it's very sometimes. And then you're gonna see my dog. And if I go hang out with my family, you might see them as well. Like, I was just there for Easter, probably posted a picture. So I would say, yes, you need to show that you are in relationship with people. Why? Because it makes your audience feel like they can trust you. If you're just like this island of a person, you're just like floating around by yourself all the time, then it makes me think no one trusts you. So if no one else trusts you, why would I?
Okay, so one
Okay.
third life.
One third life. One third anything to do with your profession. So whether it's lending or real estate or your profession. And then this is the challenging part. One third, something else. And I don't know what that is for you. Every person might be different. I have clients who are like, I post about fitness or I post about um, cooking or any interest that they have that they also post about. That is a good ratio. If you do one third, one third, one third, it's not a hard and fast rule and you can change it with time. But if you need a place to start, I'd start there.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you've got to have a healthy combination of life, professional, and then
So
hobby.
maybe, yeah, hobby, maybe golf, maybe reading, maybe you just like always are posting how you're obsessed with certain books, like just something.
Yep. Okay. I think that will be helpful because when you're creating your marketing strategy, you're blocking out so you're blocking out your time to create this content. You're advising that they consider all these buckets. Okay. So let's talk about also like time. They say, I don't have the time to do this. Do you record yourself every day? Do you time block? What is the best and effective way to do this?
So one thing you said is like you're blocking out time to create. And I think that now is a time to flip that in your mind and to think how everything that you're doing throughout your day is content. How can you, instead of creating content, how can you document the things that you're already doing? So if a client were to call you right after this and you had a conversation, how can you just get on your Instagram story and say, hey, so this was a concern for one of my clients. If it's a concern for them, it might be for you. Here's how we addressed it. How do you just like show up in what you're already doing? Every conversation I have is an opportunity for me to think about content, but I'm not necessarily sitting down to create content in a studio every day or every week. I'm trying to take the Gary V strategy of documenting your day.
So what I hear you saying, I'm gonna try to circle back a little bit. So you're not like using Canva to make a
Just like you don't
post.
need it. No,
No, it's
no.
you just need your phone. You don't
You
need a
need your
green screen.
You need your phone. You do not need a green screen. You do not need a fancy camera. If you want to post a carousel post on Instagram, you can literally just post photos. You do not need to go into Canva and put the photo in a frame and post it. Like, that's not something you need to do. As a matter of fact, you probably, if you did a side by side carousel post of one with Canva graphics and one without, I'd guarantee you're going to get more traction from the one that's not in a Canva graphic. And look, it's not that I never use Canva. You can go on my feed and you can see I use it sparingly. But if that's what's tripping you up right now, don't let it. You don't need it.
That brings up a great point in my mind. So I think there's a lot of has shifted with social media of how it used to be a couple years ago
Yeah.
and how it is now. So I like to, you did the do's and don'ts at the beginning of the year, what's in or what's out.
Yeah.
I think now is probably a good time to talk about that because I think a lot of people are just tripping themselves over like, I've got to have a green screen, I have to do a Canva post. And they're saying, they're spending all these hours creating
Yeah.
content and it's to make it professional and polished. So tell us a little what's in and what's out this year.
I will give myself the caveat that this depends on your brand. So, for example, if you are a luxury agent, I just had um, a podcast episode. By the way, I have a podcast, y'all. It's called Not Nice Clever. It's about branding, marketing, money, and manifesting, all of my favorite things. Definitely check it out. But on our podcast, we just had Kofi on, who is a luxury agent in LA. And he sells multi-million dollar properties on the daily. Okay. That's his level of expertise. Okay. So I wouldn't tell him to like go through a $10 million property with his iPhone and like it be all, you know, janky and twisted and like not like he did spent any time doing it because that's not aligned with his brand. His brand is luxury. His brand is elevated. So obviously, if he has a $5-10 million listing, he's going there with a professional crew and they're filming. Obviously, that makes sense for that level. Okay. Can he still walk through the house on his Instagram story, which you get a pass. You don't have to be polished on Instagram stories. Can he walk through and talk about it and share and be excited there? Yes. But his $5-10 million client is not going to be happy with a poorly positioned video of that level of home, right?
Yep.
So I want you to think about your audience. I want you to think about your brand and what makes sense. For the majority of people, you can absolutely go through a home on an iPhone and go ahead and put some captions and make a video on Instagram Reels and it will be fine by yourself without a camera crew. And you're asking all the questions like, "Oh my gosh, Candice, but how can I film myself?" You hold it out with your hand, literally. Or you get a tripod, you mount it somewhere and you talk to the camera and then you do the rest of the video while you're walking through the house. There's lots of ways and there's no excuses. So I would just say you need nothing. You need your phone unless you're transacting at a really high level and your client expects that as the marketing piece that you're doing for them is to invest in drone footage and whatnot.
Okay. So you mentioned brand. I think that's another topic that everyone's getting tripped over is what's my brand? How do I build my brand? And I
Yeah.
know you help, you are offer one-on-one consulting for branding. So as the expert, what do they do to figure out their brand?
Let's go back because I realized I didn't answer your question about what's in and what's out. So
Ah,
what's in? Yeah,
too many
what's
things, too
in?
many things.
It's okay. What's in is authenticity, not super polished approachability. That's what's in. Okay, not hyper designed graphics. Um, what's out is the hyper designed graphics, and what's out is only showing perfect, whatever that means. All of that is out. And recently, Adam Mosseri came out and started talking about how often you should post. And Instagram has officially said 3 to 5 times a week, ideally. And they really want you to be on the 5 side. Right now, Meta is doing a lot of I don't know what they're calling them, maybe consultations with creators. And I haven't done one, but I've seen a lot of creator friends who've had conversations with Meta who are sharing the things that they've learned. And really posting 5 times a week is kind of an ideal spot. And reels and static posts count for that 5 times a week in your feed. So that might be some insider information that is helpful to you. And 5 to 8 hashtags is recommended. But I also don't want you to get caught up in like, what the algorithm wants. What the algorithm wants is for you to actually show up regularly. And if you're not showing up right now, then showing up 2 times next week is more than you've been doing. So we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. So out with the old and in with the new.
Yeah. And there's so many opportunities. I have a program and one of my clients in the program was like, "Okay, Candice, I have to hop off because I have to go do a home tour," because that was the assignment for the week was to do a home tour. And I was like, "Why are you running out the door to do this? Just stay on this call." And she's like, "Well, this is the only time I have today to do it." And I said, "I bet you have footage in your phone right now." So she lives in a community where there's a lot of new builds. And if you're going to make a home tour of a new build, like that's easy, right? So I was like, go in your phone, find some footage from the last time you toured a new build and use that to create your video. And her mind was blown. But y'all have so much content in your phone right now that you could absolutely use, that you're making some kind of excuse reason why you can't use it. But for example, I went to a podcast conference 2 weeks ago, and it was my first podcast conference ever. I learned a lot. I have 20, 30 videos in my phone of just little things at the podcast conference that I still haven't shared. I know I'm going to use them. Maybe when I launch my next episode, I'm going to say, oh, hey, this is the podcast conference that I went to. By the way, have you listened to the new episode? It's not that complicated.
So what I'm hearing you say is like, you don't have to block out time. You don't need to. You could do it throughout the day sporadically, but you just have to turn on your phone, camera, record. Now, what if they don't want to record their face?
You have to.
Okay. All right. You guys heard it. You got to record your face. You got
Yeah.
to get comfortable and do it.
Well,
You're
and
your
here's
worst
the thing
critic,
that,
right?
yeah, this is the story that I posted on my Instagram yesterday was like, people are waiting to like wake up with confidence. They're like, maybe tomorrow when I go to sleep and I wake up, I'm going to be a confident person. I'm going to feel confident on camera. And they go to sleep and they wake up and, oh, not today. And they just keep doing that. But confidence comes from doing.
Yeah.
And so you're waiting for something to happen, but you're not putting in the time and energy and effort for that to ever happen. So I want you to just make the content and the confidence will come. For me, the confidence came when that money started hitting my bank account. Let me be honest. I was like, oh, that's all I have to do? Okay. Middle school history teacher that now gets to work with Ryan Serhant talking about brand strategy with agents all over the country. I get to travel around the country. I get to speak on stages. I get to hang out with the cool kids, y'all. And guess what? I wasn't that cool. And I'm still sometimes not.
By the way, I love your t-shirt or your sweatshirt, airplane mode, the
Thank
introvert.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm still an introvert. And what I realized is like, I want to be the voice for people who are unsure, who feel unqualified, who feel unworthy, because I have felt those things. And some days I still feel those things. But when I look at my calendar and the amazing people I get to talk to all the time, I'm like, oh, guess it's working. And it can work for you too. There's not anything special about me other than I was desperate and I needed to make it work. And if you need to make it work, you will.
I would think in this market, this terrible market we've been in for the last 2 years, or some people are at that desperation point. So like this is hopefully going to be an opportunity for them to, like, all right, effing go for it, as you have on your little sign behind you. Like start today,
Yes.
right? You got to start
Yes.
sometime.
You have to start, and you're going to see so many opportunities unfold for you. Like I couldn't have put on my vision board or dreamed of the incredible places that I've gotten to go because of creating content. Like it's beyond what I would have dreamt for myself. I was just trying to make $100,000. Okay. Like that was it. And now what's possible is just so much more.
That's amazing. So a great testament too. Let's circle back to brand
Okay,
because
brand. Yes. Okay. Um, so I I introduced this new method to the NARIP group in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. This is the first time I'm sharing it outside of that group. But I created what's called the 3C method to building magnetic branding. So why 3Cs? Because my name is Candice Carcioppolo. And so 3Cs. Okay. But it really works. So the first C is clients. You have to know who your clients are. You need to know how you serve them, what you uniquely do for them. And you have to understand the process of communication with them. What does that look like? What do they want? What do you offer? You have to know your clients intimately. You should also think about what you do with your clients before they become your clients, while they're your clients, after they're your clients. Think about all of that, write it down. You should probably have a whole page full of information about your clients. The second C is content. Now, this is the part where you share what it is you do with your clients and who you are. Okay. So you create content that shares the story of who you are, who you work with, how you serve them. The content becomes what Rory Vaden calls um, the digitization of your reputation. So that's really, you already have a reputation, but if you were the person who gets to curate your reputation in the online space, what do you want people to know about you? What do you want people to say about you? You get to decide by the content that you put out. Then the last C is collaborations, because no one does any of this alone. Everyone is who you admire, I promise, is working in community with other people. So think about who you can collaborate with, who shares maybe the same audience, the same values, who you can actually work alongside to amplify your message. So this I would call a collaboration, because I didn't know these 106 people before today. And because of this invite, I get to be in front of them. Okay. So thinking strategically about collaborating and like transitioning from thinking that everyone is your competition. Because actually, some of my best friends do similar things to me, and we don't see each other as competition. We see that as actually strength. So, clients, content, collaborations, if you want to build your personal brand, start there, thinking about those three things, because there is something in that that will spark an idea for you. And that is really what I want you to be focusing on right now is like, who do you want to be? I'll give you some caveats because I know this is going to happen and I want you to be warned. When you decide where you're going in your life and your business, and it looks different than where you've been, your friends and your family are not going to like it. There's going to be the sentiment of, who does she think she is? Okay, she's just on video all day now. Okay, she's just like, what? She thinks she's famous. Okay, all of those things are going to happen. And most people will quit when they start to happen like that because they feel discouraged. But the few people who push through those moments will realize that a year later, everyone's going to come back around and be like, oh, congratulations. I knew you were going to do it. Yeah, you're doing so great. And they'll change their tune real quick when they actually see it work. The vision you have for yourself is different than the vision that your friends and family have for you, especially if they've been in your life for an extremely long period of time. It's hard for someone to see that transition. They don't understand it. Okay. So I want to tell you that right now because I don't want you to be the person that starts this and then hears something negative and stops. No one's immune to that.
I think that's great encouragement. And also, you're your worst critic. So when you pull up yourself on camera, do you have any advice for doing that? Like, don't do it facing the camera so you can see yourself. Just turn it over the other way and record and just post it. Like, that's my theory. Like, so that I don't see myself, I just post.
If that works for you, sure. I would just say good lighting goes a long way. So
Yeah.
face a window, use some good light. I think you'll feel better.
A nice ring light
There you go.
and $30 on Amazon.
Easy.
Easy peasy. All right. So I did get a question here I want to answer from. So we talked a little bit about Instagram. What platform should they be on? Should they be on all of them? Should they be on one of them? Do you have a recommendation?
The one that you have the least amount of resistance to. Start there.
And so are you
They
saying
all
that,
work.
yeah, but
It's about consistency.
won't multiple platforms make you feel overwhelmed at the beginning?
I think so.
So start with one and
Yes.
move
And you
away.
can layer in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another question that I got quite a bit of is how do they stand out? How are they going to be different? Give us, Candice, tell us how we can stand out in the mortgage community.
This is not an answer you want to hear, but it's the truth. You need to take a step back and really understand who you are, why you do this, what drives you, and what unique value add you have to offer to your people. When I think about what's different between me and other social media gurus, if you will, I think that I'm committed to telling you the parts that didn't go well. I'm committed to telling you that I still struggle sometimes with showing up because I feel like maybe I don't deserve all this cool stuff that's happened to me in my life. Those are still things that play in my head at some times, but I just say them out loud and keep it pushing. And I think that's what makes me different, right? So when someone talks to me about their own struggles of not liking the way they look on camera, it's not weird for them to have that conversation with me. So I think that's part of what makes me different. And I'll say it on stage too, right? And I think most people when they go on stage don't want to share that part. But I do. So be honing in on what makes you different than other people in your space and what makes you unique. And you can't say nothing makes you unique because that can't be true.
Everyone's got their unique qualities. We
Right.
figure out what it is, and it may be something simple, right? Like I like to garden. Maybe that's I'm a gardener. I
There
have
you
a green
go.
thumb.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, there is definitely something out there. I was on a call with a lender last week, and she is the first person in her family to own a home. And she's committed to helping people become homeowners, um, especially Black people, Latino people, people who traditionally had less home ownership. And she talked a little bit about how like that's her commitment and that's what she wants to do. And so I'm like, well, have you even shared your story that you're the first person in your family to own a home and why this matters to you and how, you helped your cousin buy a home and just all these things, right? Like that's the beginning of you creating a brand by telling the stories of why this is so important to you and how this has changed your life. I was like, first time homeowners don't typically have the a good understanding of what equity is and what equity can do for them, right? And I was like, well, tell stories about how equity in your home helped you feel more comfortable sending your kids to college or all the things, right? She was like, actually, I just used equity in my house to build my dream backyard. And I was like, awesome. Have you shared that? Like start telling the stories of like how the first house wasn't the dream house, but as you've been there for 5 years and had equity, you made your dream yard and the next house is going to be this, right? Just begin to share why this matters to you and what it's done for you in your life and how your kids will definitely be homeowners because that's something that you're instilling in them. And it could be as simple as that.
Don't overcomplicate it,
Don't
right?
overcomplicate it because instead of just talking about interest rates every day, she's talking about building generational wealth for people who maybe don't see themselves as having the possibility of being wealthy.
Really relevant topics right now. So I love that. All right, I'm looking at my list here, Candace. We have a couple of other questions I wanted to make sure we got to. So here's let's talk about compliance. That's
Oh
a fun
gosh.
part of my job in marketing, making sure everything that we post is compliant. So how do they make sure that they're compliant with, they're going to say state and federal laws?
Look, I'm not here to tell you exactly what is compliant or not compliant, but what I've heard from most people is as long as your information is one click away, someone can click on your profile and find your licensing number or whatever it is that you have to find, then you should be solid. And obviously, you're not sharing client information. And obviously, you're always saying, if you're a lender, you're saying things like, here's one example, this is not for everyone, that kind of stuff in all of your videos. And that's fine. Your audience understands that this is not for everyone. So as long as you say it, write it in your caption to be safe, I think you're fine.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Don't make promises you can't keep. Like, I mean, this is all just standard human stuff, right? Like, don't lie.
Don't offer rates that don't exist.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
like, I don't ever imagine you going on and offering rates. Like, that's not what I think you should be doing. That's not what you need to do.
that's not how you should sell yourself, right? Don't
No,
consider yourself a rate.
no. It's about, for lenders right now, it's about helping homeowners or helping people reach their goals. That's really, I think,
Yeah,
the way you talk about it.
awesome. Do you utilize Chat GPT or any AI tools? Because there were some questions about that.
Yeah, I definitely use ChatGPT sometimes to help me write emails, to help me write different things. I will take transcripts from a podcast or a portion of a transcript from a podcast, and I'll drop it in ChatGPT, and I'll say something like, make, 5 tweets or 5 threads that I can post from this transcript. And so I like that as a use case because it's still my voice. And I think that matters. I'm not just outsourcing my voice because I feel like there's a lot of talk today about like, can I just use Canva? Can it not be my face? Can I use stock photos? Can I? And you're talking about outsourcing your voice. That's like outsourcing calling your mom. You can't. You just have to pick up the phone and you have to call your mom, okay? So you can't outsource that. It has to be you. But can you use it to amplify things that you've already done? Absolutely. I also think that there's cases like, can you make a buyer's guide or seller's guide from ChatGPT? Probably. Just go in there and type in, write a first time home buyer's guide. And it's probably pretty standard stuff. And you can
Yeah,
read through it and make it sound your own if you want to. Um, but
yeah,
there's simple things that you can use it for.
yeah. Just leveraging for support content is
Yes,
what I'm hearing.
support.
Yeah,
I like that.
support.
Yes.
Don't have that as your crutch.
Right.
Feed it the information. It'll help just polish it, basically.
Yes.
That's a good recommendation. So at the beginning of our conversation, you talked about, you got on camera 130 out of 180 days. I'm sure the folks on the phone are like, how long do I have to try this out? Like, what would you set a goal for the folks? Like, if they start today, how long should they commit before they possibly see any outcome?
Yeah. I don't want you to try. I want you to do. So that's the first thing I would say. If you're like, I'm going to try this, you're giving yourself an opportunity for it to not work for you. So let's just say that you're going to do it. You're going to connect with clients using social media. And if you're consistent, to me, that means every day in your Instagram stories and 3 to 5 times a week in your feed. We're talking about Instagram. In 3 to 6 months, if you're using your face, if you're using your voice, if you're actually talking about things that are relevant to your audience, in 3 to 6 months, you'll get your first client and it'll snowball from there.
Okay, that's not a long
It's
commitment.
not a long time.
No,
It's
usually you
not,
give something a shot for at least 6 months, right?
right?
And post daily or post 3 to 5 times a
Three to
week.
five times in your feed is fine, but daily in your Instagram stories. I want your audience to be taken along for your day.
So let's talk a little bit about what's the difference between a story and a reel, because that was a question I just saw in the chat. Can you
Yeah.
cover
Okay.
that?
One reason I love Instagram stories, especially for beginners, everyone should use them, but particularly for beginners, is because your Instagram stories go away in 24 hours. So whatever you record there, it's going to disappear in 24 hours. And that feels a little bit less intimidating for first time content creators, because if they don't like the way that they sound, they know that it's only living for 24 hours anyways. So it doesn't feel like forever. So Instagram stories are really off the cuff. They're on the go. Um, yeah, I guess that's kind of it. They are also, if someone responds to your Instagram story, they're immediately in your DMs, your direct messages. So that is a higher level of communication. When someone is direct messaging you, you're having a one-on-one conversation, and that's what you want. So that's why I love Instagram stories. Reels are longer, um, up to 90 seconds, I think. Right now, it always changes, but I think it's up to 90 seconds. And they live in your feed until you take it down. But hopefully you just don't take it down, so they live in your feed forever. Um, and that's kind of the difference. Your reels will be slightly more polished than your Instagram stories typically. Like, you will have thought of a hook and some information and a call to action at the end, typically in a reel. So it's a little more formal.
Okay. What would you say for Facebook? So if we have folks that are a little bit more comfortable with Facebook, there's stories on there as well. Is
Yeah,
that kind
use
of the
them.
same
Yep,
thing?
use them for
Yeah.
sure.
Do you
Um,
suggest them
there's
going live, like recording lives on Facebook?
I think that you can absolutely record lives on Facebook. I think it will begin to start conversations with your community, and you might learn things about them that you didn't know before. But I don't think if you go live one time that it's going to do anything for you. There's going to be two people on, and someone's going to leave halfway through, and that's it. And you're going to feel discouraged. So unless you're committing to a period of time, I don't think going live is going to help you. I would say minimum 30 days of commitment to going live and seeing what you learn. Um, I think
Okay,
that's really the minimum amount of time.
gotcha. All right, so if you are on Instagram, so the goal today we're setting is at least a 6 month. You need to show up daily as a story.
Yeah.
So something personal, or you're out in the field doing, going to see a open house or whatever it is, a client, post that, a story, and then 3 to 5 times possibly doing a reel that's a little bit more longer. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Raise the hands. Hopefully you guys on the phone can do that, and then tag Candice in your first post, and so that you're starting your 6 month trial. You're doing it, right?
You're
We're doing
doing it. Yep.
um I know we're like 6 minutes till the top of the hour. I want to save a little bit of time to talk about your content lab,
Yes.
the special offer you're going to provide today. So,
Totally. So the Content Lab is a 6-week social experiment. Why? Because social media is an experiment. So within the Content Lab, every week we do 2 social experiments, and I lay them out for you step by step. For example, one of them will be a B-roll reel with trending sound. Okay, so I will give you 3 examples of that actually from Instagram, and I will lay out step by step what you need to be thinking about and what type of content you need to create to make that. You do it within a container with 25 other people, and you kind of have that pressure every week to do the 2 social experiments. So you have the 12 frameworks that you get over the course of the 6 weeks. You do 2 every week together, and you get support. So I watch them and give you real time feedback. I'm like, okay, cool. Next time you do this, here's what you should do better. And you have that container with other people who are doing social experiments together. We also track our data from the beginning of our time together till the end, so we can see how much our engagement has increased over just 6 weeks. And every social experiment is replicable. So even outside of the content lab, you can use it over and over again. So if you're that person who is like, okay, Candice, I get that I'm supposed to post, but I still don't know technically what that looks like, then the content lab is the answer to the technically what does that look like piece that people are often missing. We meet live once a week. And it's just a great place to be in community with people who are all committed to doing the damn thing. So we start on
awesome.
April 23rd, and I'm giving um, a code for you guys. It's going to be Sierra Pacific, and that will save you $200. I will give me like 20 minutes after this to get that going, but I'm going to put that in my system.
We appreciate you sharing that. We'll put that in the chat once we get that. And we'll also be sending out a recording of this session by
Perfect.
Thursday, so we can include that in the information. Candice, you've been a wonderful resource for us today. And I know you offer one-on-one branding consulting. So we did provide Candice's contact information in the chat. So if you guys want to reach out to her, follow
Thank
her
you.
on Instagram. Today's been wonderful. And in the spirit of providing value to our partners, we are doing a different session. It's a market update on April 22nd, where we're going to have two data experts discussing like this crazy market we're going through. So if you guys are interested in joining us, reach out to an SPM contact. But Candice,
Thank you so
I've
much.
learned so much today. I hope everybody on the phone has learned as well. Anything else, any last tidbits that you want to share with the group?
Slide into my DMs. My DMs are always open. And if you haven't already, check out Not Nice Clever, the podcast. And I'd love to see you in the content lab.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.